2 Corinthians chapter 8. We're in that uncomfortable subject of giving. We're here to twist you and bend you and steal your wallet from you. That is not who we are. But, we started looking at this last week. And if you want to see Calvary Chapel's heart or my heart on giving, you probably heard that last week. We're going to pick it up in about verse 13. But a lot of people find this subject uncomfortable. They find it, here we are, the pastor's talking about that subject again. And there's no need to do that. We learned last week that giving should be freely willing. It should just come from your heart. It should just be something that you want to do. And if you don't want to do it, we don't need it. And, it told us last week that the people who were giving first freely gave themselves. They stepped into the offering box themselves first. And then the stuff that they had came with them. And giving is always according to what you have and what you don't have. I can't tell you how many times somebody's come up, man, I've been playing the lotto, and if I ever hit the lotto, I'm giving a bunch to the church. And I just smile at that. Just give what you got, Just give what's on hand. And that's all we need. So it says in verse 13, and excuse me because, I'm a pastor and I forgot my Bible this morning, so I got this foreign Bible. So good luck as I try to read out of a foreign Bible and find where I am. It says, verse 13, "For I do not mean that others should be eased and you burdened, but that in equality, that now at this time your abundance may supply their lack, that their abundance also may supply your lack, that there may be an equality, as it is written, he who gathered much had nothing left over, and he who gathered little had no lack." So Paul says, I've told you guys to share. I've told you guys to give. I told you guys when there's a serious need, when there's this great change, when people are severely poor and people are severely rich, there should be this equity. But he doesn't want the rich to become poor. That isn't the idea. We're not talking about communism here, where what's yours is mine. We're not talking that idea at all. But in times of need, there are always people who have and people who have not. And we need to make sure that the people who have not are able to survive, able to get through. And he goes on in verse 15, and he says, "He who gathered much had nothing left over, and he who gathered little had no lack." And he takes you right back to the manna in the wilderness. Exodus, chapter 16, 18 through 20. And Paul says, making the rich poor isn't the idea. And making the poor rich isn't the idea of giving. It isn't what we're after. Communism says what's yours is mine, and capitalism says what's mine is mine. But Christianity says what's mine is yours. Do you need it? Christianity has the heart behind the message. And so Paul speaks of this equality at this time. Very interesting phrase. It's not chronos. It's not this time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not this ongoing time thing. It literally means at this season. Because you'll go through things, and then there will be hurricane season, and Hurricane George will show up somewhere and wipe people out, and there is a season of need. Or Haiti, or whatever it is comes up, and there is these needs in these seasons, and that's what he's talking about. He's saying, there comes this time where there is deep need and deep poverty and deep, hunger. And he says that's what the Jerusalem church is going through at this time. And so in this season, we want to help them. We want to bless them. We want to make sure they make it through that season. And he says, as it is written. I think it's interesting. He takes you back to that idea of manna. And there were some people that went out and gathered enough manna for a whole week. And you know what happened to that, right? After the first day, it bred worms and stank. Well, that's something I love food that does that. I almost won't eat it the first day if it does that the second day. It's like, oh, no, I don't want to risk it, I'm going to eat it first thing in the morning and not at night because it's getting too close. But he says, it's not good for people to hoard stuff. And that's God's plan or purpose with that. He gives you your daily bread. We want our 401k bread. I want my 40-year retirement bread. I want my, and we start thinking about all that stuff. And it's really hard for Americans to understand daily bread because, we walk over to the fridge and we open it and we look at all this food in the fridge and we go, honey, there's nothing to eat in here. Well, I only put food in the fridge. That's all that goes in there, right? And your cupboards are full of stuff. And we have a hard time thinking about people that have to scrounge all day just for enough to eat that day. So here at the end of this chapter, he will say, from here to the end of the chapter, he will say, with giving, the people who take up that offering, the people who receive that offering, there must be stewardship, there must be accountability, it's got to involve men of good character, because it's important, because people are kind of tied to their wallet. Well, I gave to that church, where'd my money go? I gave this much, and where's it going? And what's he doing with it? And nothing seems to be doing, and I'm worried about it. And so he says in verse 16, but thanks be to God who puts the same earnest care for you into the heart of Titus. It's interesting, Paul would send Titus to the Corinthian church. And so he pulls Titus aside and he begins to tell him about the need, about what's going on in Jerusalem. And Titus has the same heart as Paul does. Yeah, we need to do this. Yeah, just send me. I'll go take care of this. For he not only accepted the exhortation to go, but being more diligent, he went to you of his own accord. He didn't need me to push him. He didn't need me to send him. Literally, they met together, and Titus says, yeah, I'm going. I'll go. What do you want me to tell him? What do you want me to ask him? What do you want me to do? And we have sent with him the brother whose praise is in the gospel throughout all the churches, someone we don't know about. They're sending this guy, a representative of the churches where they are in Macedonia. They're sending this guy with their offering to Corinth, and then when they gather up Corinth's offering, then they'll send the whole band to Jerusalem. So they're all represented. Hey, this comes from our church. This comes from our area. This is how we want to love on you guys. And verse 19, and not only that, but he who was chosen by the churches to travel with us with this gift, which is administered by us to the glory of the Lord himself, to show your ready mind. This man was chosen by the churches to accompany this offering. Chosen in the Greek means to stretch out your hand. These churches had gathered together and said, hey, do you want to send Dave? Do you want to send Bill? Do you want to send George? And they voted for it. It's interesting, you don't vote for a lot in churches, at least not in my churches. But they voted, we want this guy to represent us when he goes to this place. Verse 20, it says, avoiding this, that anyone should blame us in this lavish gift which is administered by us, providing honorable things, not only in the sight of the Lord, but also in the sight of men. We want to be careful and we want to do this correctly. Anything that has to do with money, we want to make sure all the dots are, or all the I's are dotted and the T's crossed. I can't talk today, so sorry. We want to do it right, not only in God's sight, but in man's sight. Very interesting, right? We will administer this gift through stewardship. I don't know if you know what a steward is, but it's somebody who has control of the whole house. You know, a steward would be a top slave in a master's house, and he was in charge of everything. Everything in the cupboards was his. He treated it like it was his, but he treated it that way to take care of the master and to take care of the master's plan. The master would come to him, hey, I'm having some guests over, you need to prepare this and have this and do this, and he would go through the house and make sure it was all there, make sure it was all prepared right, he'd do all of that stuff. And so we're just stewards of God's money when it comes to us. And we have to be accountable to God for that money, and we have to be accountable to you for that money. So, you know, that's why I cover myself with a bunch of guys, you know. And if anything ever goes wrong, just arrest Dick and we'll be fine, you know. Right, Dick? Yeah. We have an accountability system in place, you know. When we collect an offering, when we gather that offering, accept that offering from you guys, at least 2 people handle that stuff at all times. They'll take it back. They'll seal it in an envelope. They'll count it all up. They'll do all of this stuff. Then we take the envelope directly to our accountant. She deposits it. We get a receipt back. Yep, sure enough, that was the deposit. This was the thing. You know, go through all of these steps just to make sure that everything happens so nobody's walking off with your $20. Because it's never good. I don't handle the checks. I don't do the counting. I don't want to know what you guys give. You know that? Because if I find Richard's putting $10,000 a week in the old offering, I'm just kind of carnal enough. I'm over there snuggling up to Richard. Hey, the temperature okay for you, Richard? Yeah. Is everything going okay? Is it? You know, and then somebody's dropping in, you know, $2. I'm carnal enough that could influence me, and I don't want that to influence me. You see, I want to be influenced by how much you cost, not how much you give. And the idea behind that is you are blood-bought saints. You are the most costly thing in all the universe. What else did Christ die for? Spill his blood for? You know, you go to these great museums and you see the Mona Lisa, you see these priceless paintings. They're not priceless paintings. Christ didn't die for that painting. But you are priceless. Gold or silver cannot buy you. Just his blood. So when I deal with you, I want to deal with you on that level. Whether you throw in 2 cents or $2,000, I don't care. I want it to be, I'm dealing with this person and they're blood bought. And I need to deal carefully with them with respect to how God would deal with them. So that's the way I try to deal with people. Verse 22, and it's going to take me a minute because I've totally lost my place. So I lifted my finger and now I'm lost. 22 must be here. Okay. And we have sent with them our brother, whom we have often proved diligent in many things, but now much more diligent because of the great confidence which we have in you. So he's going to send Titus. Titus, this co-worker, this co-minister of Christ. If anyone inquires about Titus, he is my partner. What a great name to be called. You're Paul's partner. Anybody here want to be? I would love to have that name. I'm Paul's partner. I used to just like to be in the back pocket of Gordon Boyle, you know. Where's Gordon? Well, just look for Mark and you'll find Gordon, because that's where I was. I was always right there, you know. He's a fellow worker concerning you. Or about our brethren, are inquired about. They are messengers of the churches, the glory of Christ. These guys that are sent out with this offering, Paul says, man, they are the glory of Christ. Therefore, show to them and before the churches the proof of your love and of our boasting on your behalf. He says, so when this team gets there, guys, I want you to honor them. I don't want them sleeping in sleeping bags in the basement, I want you to honor them. Put them up, be hospitable, make it right, make it good. I want them not to have to stand out on the corner with a little cardboard sign, "We'll work for food this day." And I want you to take care of them. And now in chapter 9, verses 1 through 5, he's going to ask them to already have this offering ready by the time they get there. Because we know, we read it last week and we'll read it again this week, that in 1 Corinthians, the end of chapter 16, or the beginning of chapter 16, Paul has told them, hey, we're going to take up this offering. You guys already want to be part of that, so let's get it done. And he says in 1 Corinthians 16, it says, "Now concerning the collection for the saints, I have given orders to the churches of Galatia, and so you must also do. On the first day of the week, Sunday, let each one of you lay aside something, storing up as he may prosper, that there be no collection when I come." I don't want to be the arm twister. I don't want to have any of that feel to it. I want you guys to make up your mind what you're going to give. I want you to freely give it, and I'm not going to be concerned with it. "And when I come, whoever you approve by your letters, I will send to bear your gift to Jerusalem." So he's sending a representative from every area of the church, of the Gentile church. So he says in verse 9, "Now concerning the ministering to the saints, it is superfluous for me to write to you. For I know your willingness, about which I boast of you to the Macedonians and Achaia." Achaia is actually Corinth. "Ready that to you, that Achaia was ready a year ago, and your zeal has stirred up the majority. Yet I have sent the brethren, lest our boasting of you should be in vain in this respect, that I said, you may be ready, lest if some Macedonians come with me and I find you unprepared, we, not to mention you, should be ashamed of the confident boasting." He says, I've been bragging you guys up. I've been talking about what a great church you are, how great of givers you are. I've done all of this stuff. And I don't want, when this team arrives, for you guys to be totally unaware, to be totally unprepared. To not, I don't want to show up and have to twist arms, because Paul would never do that. So I want it to be a free will offering. I want it to be from your heart, and I want it to be ready. I like that. Now at this time, Paul is in Macedonia, and he will come to Corinth and spend the winter there with this Corinthian church, and that's where he's going to write the epistle to the Romans. And when you read Romans chapter 15, it says, "For it pleased those from Macedonia and Achaia to make a certain contribution for the poor saints that are in Jerusalem." And we know that it arrives in Acts chapter 21. Paul and this group of people enter into Jerusalem and deliver this offering to James, the apparent head of the church in Jerusalem. And it says in verse 5, "Therefore I thought it necessary to exhort the brethren to go on ahead of time and prepare your generous gift beforehand, which you had previously promised, that it may be ready as a matter of generosity and not of grudging obligation." We want this to be a free will offering, not an offer-taking event. Have you ever been to a place where they pass the hat and then a little pressure is added and they pass the hat again? It's double tithe Sunday, tithe till it hurts. I've seen these guys on TV. I've never actually been in a church like that. But I watched a guy, we were on vacation somewhere in Montana, and I turned on the TV and one of these guys was there. And I watched him for about 5 minutes and it drove me crazy. I'm like, who does this huckster think he is, He's demanding money of these people. So verse 6, he says, But this I say, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. This is the crux of giving. You need to understand this. If you're a Christian, you need to figure this out. It's a spiritual law. It's also a partial physical law. Because you guys know, you want a bunch of tomatoes this year. So you go out and plant one tomato seed, right? You sow sparingly, guess what you're going to do? Reap sparingly. And in Idaho, you're probably just going to reap 3 or 4 green tomatoes, by the end of the season, right? But if you really want some tomatoes, you need to sow some seeds. And you need to sow them early. Get them in there, You're throwing a pack of seeds in those babies. Come on, seeds. But there are problems in the church with this, because in these passages, in these very verses, are the verses that those people who try to rip the church off use. The seed faith ministries. Oh, you got to plant a seed of faith. So just send me your seed of faith and you'll get 20 or you'll get 30, 60, 100-fold back from the Lord. They start telling you all of these things. But most of what they're doing is appealing to your carnal nature. They want you to give so you get. God doesn't want you to give to get. God wants you to give, to learn to learn to be a giver. Giving to get is covetousness. I want. So if I give this, then I get that. That's heresy, That is not how the gospel of Jesus Christ works. The prosperity gospel that's out there that says you should be rich and healthy and young and vibrant and in great health, that gospel only works in some places. And usually only for so long. Usually only until the people are sick and broke, And then you discover, oh, that gospel doesn't work. You see, the gospel of Jesus Christ works for everybody, not just for the wealthy and the healthy. God, it says here, will resupply the generous givers. You will never outgive God. You will never step into the kingdom. Lord, I'm here and you owe me some stuff. I don't think you're ever going to step into heaven with that kind of attitude. Well, I've been giving and giving and giving, and boy, you owe me. Yeah, I don't think that's the Lord's thing. He's going to look at you and go, yeah, let's add that up. What did I give you? What have I done for you? You ever see that guy on TV? He had the magic wallet. He didn't call it a magic wallet. It's the anointed wallet. And he was selling them for $10. He says, you buy this anointed wallet and you put some money in it and you put it under your pillow, it will multiply that money. Always cracked me up. I'm like, well, why aren't you using your wallet? You don't need to scam all these people with a wallet. You could just use your own magic wallet. He didn't do it. Proverbs 11:24, it says, there is one who scatters, yet increases more. A giver, a godly giver, scattering. And there is one who withholds more than is right, but it leads to poverty. There are those hoarders. I've only got this and I can't give it away. And it doesn't reproduce. It doesn't produce anything. This is a spiritual truth that the world will never understand. We Christians need to understand. If we're given to the needy, if we're given to God's work, if we're given towards the kingdom, if we're supporting a ministry or a mission or an evangelist out there somewhere, if we sow bountifully, we will reap bountifully. However it comes back. I'm not telling you money's going to come back into your pocket. But I am going to tell you, you're going to be blessed. What's interesting is that word bountifully, It literally means blessings plural. If you sow blessings plural into somebody's life, into a ministry, into somebody else, then you will get blessings plural back. Is he talking about money? No. He's talking about blessings. However they come back. You know, God has given me great deals on cars. Great deal on a house. Great deal on all of these things. It's not money, but it's just as good as money. Something I needed, and he got me into it for a great deal. It's like, man, you saved me tens of thousands of dollars there, Lord. And then you think about that. Oh, well, thank you. You know, it's not always, you know, little greenbacks in your bank account. He says in verse 7, so let each one give as he purposes in his heart. Giving is always a matter of the heart. Everything to do with the Lord is a matter of the heart, right? The heart of the matter is always the matter of the heart. You find two people and they're thinking about getting divorced. We just can't get along. You know what the problem is? Heart. It's a lordship issue and it's a heart issue. I just can't give anymore, Mark. It's a lordship issue. It's a heart issue. Well, I can't, you know, so-and-so and me, we don't get along. It's a lordship issue. It's a heart issue. It's a heart issue, not an account balance issue. It's a heart issue, not a money issue. When we have a family in need, and we've done this several times, we'll have some family in need, and we will announce it. Hey, we got somebody, they're going through some things, and they need a little help for this period of time. I've made announcements like that, and you guys have overwhelmed, sometimes embarrassingly so, overwhelmed the family. One time at Christmas, I had to drive my pickup truck there, and it took us 5 loads to unload this stuff into this family's house, and they're just like, what's good? Where'd all this stuff come from? Just those dumb Christians. I think it's amazing. For God loves a cheerful giver. So here's the thing. He wants you to purpose in your heart. I want to be a giver, Lord. That's just my heart. I want to be a giver. I don't know how much to give, Lord. So kind of walk me through it, show me how to do it. And I don't want it to be grudging. I don't want it to be a necessity. Oh, I have to give. I don't want it to be any of that stuff. I want it to put a smile on his face and on mine. I don't want it, I have to give. I want it, I get to give to God and to his kingdom and to his purpose. You know, a lot of people say, well, that word is hilarity, hilarious. God loves a hilarious giver. Oh, here it is. Everything I got, Lord, give it to you. He doesn't want a crazy giver. He wants a happy. Literally, in the Greek, when you look up that word, it's just someone that has a smile on their face and joy in their heart when they're doing it. That's it. So he says in verse 8, and God is able to make all grace abound towards you, that you, always having all sufficiency in all things, may have an abundance for every good work. I want you to pay attention to this verse. And all of the, what's the word I'm looking for? All of the superlatives. All, every, all the time, you know. Look at this verse. God is able to make all grace. Who doesn't want all grace? Man, I do. Well, you want all law? You want all that you deserve? I want nothing that I deserve, right? Get that deserving thing out of my way. You know, I don't want justice. I don't want grace, you know. He's able to make all grace abound towards us, that you will always have all sufficiency. Now here's what God does to a giver. He makes sure they always have enough for what they need. He's going to take care of you. That's what that verse says. I'm going to make sure you always have enough. But then there are going to come along times when, hey, there's coming up a hardship. There's coming up something going on. And God knows all of that stuff. And he will give you more in that period of time, not so you can hoard it, but so you can help. So you have all sufficiency and the ability, the abundance for every good work that needs to be done out there. I love that verse. I love that verse. God's going to take care of me. I like that idea. Okay, Lord, you take care of me. I haven't got the ability to do that, so you just do that. And he does. And then I'll get a tax return, or I'll get some rebate, or I'll get some, thing, mom sends me a check, whatever it is, you get this little extra and you're thinking, oh boy, wonder what I could do with extra. And something pops up. Somebody in need. Somebody down the street, somebody around the corner, somebody in the family, and you're like, I know where this check needs to go. I know where part of this needs to happen. I know what needs to go there. And that's what that verse is saying. God's going to take care of you. And then God's going to prepare you for good works. Right? Doesn't he say that in Ephesians chapter 2? We're saved by grace through faith, not of works, lest any man should boast. But there are good works foreordained that we need to walk in them. Good works already planted out there. And one of those good works is apparently giving. You will never suffer. Matter of fact, God is able to provide all things to you. What's the context? You got to be a giver. You got to be one who doesn't hold on. We used to teach our little kids this by we would give them a couple of M&Ms in their hand and watch how they hold it. Whoop. And then I would take the bag of M&Ms and I would pour over their hand. They're getting all over, Dad. I said, yeah. Because if you've got a closed hand, I can't put any more in there. And that's the way we treat our finances sometimes, right? I've got this and it's mine. The first word we learn, mine, mine. But then God tries to pour more stuff into your hand, and it can't go in because it's closed. But if I open my hand, my little sister can come over and steal some. Yep. She can take some, and you should be freely willing to let her do that. Because then Grandpa or Mom or Dad or whoever or God can pour more into your hand when you need it. So verse 9, as it is written, he has dispersed abroad, he has given to the poor, his righteousness endures forever. The one who gives to meet the need. His righteousness endures forever. The one who is given to the poor, his righteousness endures forever. How long do you want your righteousness to endure? Just the next 10 minutes. I want everybody to see I was righteous, and then let's get on with it, I want it to endure forever. Now may he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food supply and multiply the seed you have sown and increase the fruits of your righteousness. That kind of giving isn't hoarding. We understand that we're in a sowing and reaping process. But when the one who supplied your seed in the first place, who do you think made your paycheck this week? Was it you? Or was it God that supplied it? Well, if he supplied the seed to the sower and the bread for your food, may he supply and multiply that seed and increase your fruits of righteousness, while you are enriched in everything for all liberality, which causes thanksgiving through us to God. The reason we give is to bring glory to God, is to put a smile on his face, is to have people look to God and go, man, thank you for that guy who just helped me out with that flat tire. Thank you for that person that just, brought over food when we didn't have any, or brought me diapers for my 2-year-old because I was out, or, I know none of you guys have ever been in that place, but it's so great when somebody meets a need that you didn't even know they knew about. For the administration of this service not only supplies the needs of the saints, but also is abounding through many thanksgivings to God. While through the proof of this ministry, they glorify God for the obedience of your confession to the gospel of Christ, and for your liberality sharing with them and all men. This giving, this heart of giving, shows that you believe in God, shows that you believe the gospel, the good news. And it builds bridges between people who don't have and the church. People who need something and us. The second thing it does is God is glorified because of your giving. How many thankful hearts cry out to him and just say, oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, that they showed up at this time. Thank you, Lord, that happened to me or with me or for me. And you're actually getting blessed by maybe an unbeliever because they're just saying, man, had to be God, had to be a God thing that met this need. How many unbelievers? How many misbelievers? And how many even good old Christians fall down and give thanks because their need was met by you? World may never know. And by their prayer for you, who long for you because of the exceeding grace of God in you, thanks be to God for his indescribable gift. Thanks be to God. I love the way Paul wraps this thing up on giving. Thanks be to God for his indescribable gift. He's got the focus back off of you. It's not just about your giving. What did God give? What did God give? Mercy. What didn't God give, right? It's the only time this word indescribable is used in the whole New Testament. What did it cost to give you his only son? What did it cost God? What does it cost a father to lay the sins of the world upon his only begotten son, who was perfect and holy and harmless, and then pour the wrath of all of that sin upon his own son? All the time, being able, being powerful, all powerful, he could have stopped it at any moment, but he doesn't step in because of you, because of your need, because of your great poverty. That's an indescribable gift. You want to talk about giving? Just look up and ask about giving. Think about giving. Look at how God gave to us, and he gave to us freely from his heart, out of his abundance. But he gave something that hurt. He gave to the point of severe pain. I don't know if you've ever given like that. I don't know if I ever have. And he gave it freely. I like that. Undeservedly. We didn't earn it. It wasn't because I was such a cute little bugger. I'm the cutest one, and God thought he better have one of me, so he saved me. No. I didn't earn it. I don't deserve it. I simply sit there and accept it and say thank you. Thank you for that indescribable gift. And that is what people are doing when we have the ability to share and to care and to give to them. They're just sitting there Christmas night and their kids are happy and playing with toys, and the parents are sitting there eating food that was donated to them, and they're sitting there blown away. Man, there's a bunch of guys over there that I've never met, that I don't know anybody in that place. And they supplied our need. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. That's some amazing impact you can have by giving. Next week, no more giving. Well, we will receive an offering, but we're done with the giving thing. Giving is uncomfortable for pastors to talk about. At least it is for me, because I don't like to focus on it. I like to move on, Let's talk about what Jesus has done. Let's talk about what Jesus is doing in our hearts. Let's talk about his word and all of this stuff. But when he brings it up, we talk about it. So, thank the Lord. It's over, right? We survived. No double taxation Sunday. You don't have to worry about it. We'll walk out here and smile and enjoy life.